Hi, this is Matt from tracyandmatt.co.uk and for unboxings.com, and here I have the new Nokia N97, which is another one of those devices that seems to be fairly eagerly awaited and sort of subject to a few delays along the way. So let's take a look inside. As you can see, Nokia are pretty good with their presentation. The box is attractive looking, and inside it's kind of nicely presented. So you have the handset itself immediately on top, which we'll take a look at in a bit more detail in just a second. You also have what seems to be an extremely large battery, which is actually a 1500 milliamp hour battery. So not massive capacity, but it does seem quite large. I suppose it's because it's fairly thin. As I say, 1500 milliamp hours there. And also we have a stylus. Now, there's a lot of debate around the web as to whether or not the N97 would in actual fact have a stylus. So it does have this kind of small non-telescopic, just tap, well it's almost not like a stylus, it's almost just like something to touch the screen that's a little bit more accurate than a finger. But anyway, I think that sort of resolves a few of the debates. It does have this stylus, which is sort of charm style, which you can actually attach to the handset. So what else is in the box? We have a micro USB to what looks like two different chargers by the looks of it. So there are two different connectors there. As you can see, one looks like to be almost like the micro style charge cable that is common with the newer Nokias, and one that looks like the older style, larger one there, and so that goes to micro USB, so it syncs over micro USB. Don't think this cable performs any other function than a charge. So then we have a standard 3-pin wall charger, which has a micro USB connector there for charging. That's useful because we can then use a USB sync charge cable with a micro USB connector to charge. Then have a inline microphone, again similar to many other, in fact the same as many other Nokia handsets. So it's actually a push button for the phone, and then media controls, play, pause, stop, skip, and there's a lock switch on one side, and an up and down volume rocker on the other. Then a socket for a 3.5mm standard headphone jack, so you can use any old headphones, and a 3.5mm 4-pole jack on the other end, which plugs into the handset. We then have a set of headphones, which I'll just attempt to open. Which are again pretty Nokia standard. I've seen these with a number of other Nokia handsets. They are okay, not the best, not the worst. Adequate, I suppose, is the best way to describe them. Again, 3.5mm jack on that end. They're not bad. If you're really into music, I'm sure you'll have your own headphones, which you can adequately use with this handset. Then we have a screen cleaning cloth. Nothing really much to see there. Then we have Nokia CD with the AV suites. And lastly, we have the manual, which is printed in colour for the most part. Pretty lightweight, almost seems more like a getting started guide, but I'm sure that it's adequate. Okay, so let's take a look at the handset itself. So first of all, we have a forward facing camera for video conferencing. Then we have a 3.5-inch diagonal display, which is a sort of a wide screen style display. It is an unusual resolution at 360 by 640. I'm sure other devices do have that, but off the top of my head I'm not aware of any. And it is a little bit more unusual in terms of screen resolution. Below that we have a simple push button in the corner, and then we have a touch sensitive area for the red and green sort of send and end or answer and reject call buttons. Down the left hand side we have the connector for the micro USB. We then have a slider there, which I think will probably be the release for the back cover, but we'll take a look at that in a bit more detail in a second. A couple of holes at the top and bottom are loudspeakers. On the bottom there's a small hole which is the microphone. Down the right hand side, dedicated camera button and an up down style volume control rocker above that. On the top, the 3.5mm jack socket for the headphones and a power button. On the back we have a Carl Zeiss 5-megapixel autofocus camera behind a cover and a couple of LEDs for illumination, or you call flash. That's nice to have it under the cover like that. It does stop getting dust and rubbish and fingerprints all over the lens, so that's pretty cool to have that under a cover like that. You'll notice though there is no mirror for self-portrait, but that area around the camera there is pretty shiny, so if you did want to take pictures of yourself, I'm sure you could achieve it that way. Back cover then. Back cover releases like so, just pops off. Doesn't look like that little spring there is to do with the back cover. So we'll look at that in a bit more detail in just a second. Our micro SD card goes in here, just in the side. Obviously you have to remove the back cover to access that. As do the SIM card, which just slides underneath here. And the battery goes in just like so. It just pops in place, and then the back cover just pops back on. Back cover itself is fairly plasticky. I mean, obviously I know you appreciate that it is made of plastic, but it's quite soft, quite flexible. Don't know, just doesn't feel quite right for a Nokia of this sort of caliber. I would expect it to be a bit more robust, a little bit better made perhaps. But there you go. That's obviously the back cover. We have a sliding screen. You don't have any choice basically. It does tilt. It's on a mechanism that automatically tilts and slides. So you don't have any choice as to keeping it flat or having it tilted. That's what you get. It does tilt automatically. We then have a QWERTY keyboard. It's only 3 rows of QWERTY, which again is somewhat unusual. The Titan 2 and other HTC handsets typically have 4 rows, and then we go to the newer Touch Pro and Touch Pro 2, which have 5 rows, but this has only 3, as I say, slightly unusual. We then have like a D-pad here, up, down, left, right, and a push button in the centre. To get to the numbers, we use the shift function and or the symbol function and get along the top row of keys there, pretty standard. Let's see, the keys are pretty small, not particularly raised, as you can see they're quite flat. There is a nice bit of space between them, which helps when you're actually sort of typing on them, that you don't press the one next to it, but as I say, they are pretty small. So with larger thumbs like I have, that might be something of an issue. But it does look quite attractive. The white accent around the whole of the fascia, and obviously much of the device, it's slightly pearlized or metallic-y in finish, and then it's shown off by the chrome around the bezel and around the side of the keyboard there, which does look quite nice, does look an attractive device. Even with the battery installed, not particularly heavy, only 150 grams, which is pretty good. Dimensions 117mm from top to bottom, 55 wide, and about 16mm thick. Pretty cool. It is quad band for GSM and tri-band for HSDPA and 3G, so it's pretty much going to work wherever you're going to take it. So we just power up. While powering up, just run down the rest of the spec. It's a Symbian S60 5th edition OS. This model has 32GB of internal memory, so very good. I would say, certainly on par with the newer iPhone, in fact, and more than adequate if you're going to be storing music and use it as a media player device. So pretty cool in that respect. Let me just set the date and time. We're just going to kind of OK that. I'm not really terribly interested. The touchscreen isn't as sensitive as I had expected it to be. It does seem to want me to press it fairly firmly with my fingernail. I know I've only just done it a couple of times there, but that seems to be immediately apparent. So then we have this desktop or main screen, home screen type of arrangement, which is which is fairly new. Haven't seen a Nokia device that has this, and I'm sure people are going to correct me that it's on others, but you know, it's quite a nice layout with the time, and we have, you know, icons along the top here. We have Facebook immediately there, area for contacts and set up email, new options, and obviously contacts down the bottom. Then we have our phone dialer. So it does seem to be that you have to press reasonably firmly on the screen to get it to respond to your touch. Not too bad. You have to be fairly firm with it, and every time I do press the screen, there is a small vibrate from inside, a sort of haptic feedback to tell me that I have pressed the screen, which is quite nice. And obviously when I'm dialing, there is the beep as well, the tones from the key press. In terms of applications, then we can go into messaging for our text messages, and then we have bookmarks for our web browser. We have Nokia Maps, because we do have a built-in GPS chipset. Then we have our media, which is now searching. Hasn't found anything shocking, because obviously nothing on there just yet. There is a built-in sensor, G sensor in the device, but I assume that really only responds on certain applications, perhaps with text messaging. Nope. Does it expect us to do it like that? Okay, so when we actually open the display and use the QWERTY keyboard, it does rotate the screen, and then automatically rotates back. But I do understand that there is a G sensor in there for auto screen alignment, and also a proximity sensor, which I pretty much assume that this piece at the top here must be proximity sensor, so that it reacts to when you put the phone down or when you put it near your ear, it dims the display and that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. Let's say an unusual screen res of 360 by 640, but it does look rather nice, and it looks quite sharp considering it's only 640 pixels from top to bottom, where we're actually seeing sort of 800 on some of the HTC devices. But it does look fairly high res just looking at it like that. We have built-in Wi-Fi, we have built-in Bluetooth 2 with A2DP. We also have support TV out, which you'll need an additional cable. Doesn't come supplied part of the package, but if you want to use TV out, there is a cable that you can have for that. As I say, there is a built-in GPS chipset, 3.5mm connector. That's obviously where you would plug in your AV cable. According to specification, the micro SD card slot supports up to 16 gig, although I suspect that 32 gig may be supported when they become available. 5 megapixel camera with a digital zoom of up to 14 times, and the secondary camera is of course just a VGA for video conferencing. Talk time is listed at up to 570 minutes for a GSM network, and standby up to 430 hours, which is pretty good. Finally, we do have a built-in stereo FM radio with RDS and visual radio support, and we can open Microsoft Office style documents with built-in viewers. Okay, now it's obvious what the switch on the side does. That's actually to do with the screen guard. So when the screen guard's on, you just have to slide down the switch on the side and hold it, and that just re-enables the screen like a lock button. So you just pop into options, and you can change the content of the main screen, and then we can go into different menus. We have menus, so your standard sort of icon style menu structure with contacts and calendar, web browser, photos, TV and video, games, applications, settings, etc. We'll go through that a bit more detail when we actually come to do the full review. The review will be online on tracyandmatt.co.uk within the next couple of weeks, once we've had time to really try the handset out in a bit more, a bit more detail and a bit more thoroughly, using it a little bit more day to day. If you're a fan of unboxing videos, please check out our other site, unboxings.com. And as I say,